The man suspected of shooting 2 Minnesota lawmakers was captured. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Monday, June 16th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Early on Saturday, Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were killed by a gunman at their home. Hortman was a top Democratic lawmaker in the state. The same gunman also shot a state senator and his wife at their home a few miles away. John and Yvette Hoffman are expected to survive. Officials called it an act of targeted political violence. The shootings sparked a 2-day manhunt for the suspect, Vance Bolter. Late yesterday, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announced Bolter's capture.
After a 2-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Bolter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt. Spent Father's Day away from their families to deliver justice for Melissa and Mark Hortman and their children who spent this Father's Day alone.
Authorities said Bolter had posed as a police officer during the attacks. They also said the 57-year-old had a list of Democratic lawmakers and others who support liberal causes. Speaking to the press on Saturday, Walz shared his remembrances of Melissa Hortman.
Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant, a fixture and a giant in Minnesota. She woke up every day determined to make this state a better place.
Number 2. Iran and Israel are exchanging attacks for the 4th day. Iran launched more missiles at Israel this morning. They killed at least 8 people and injured dozens more, according to the Prime Minister's office. That brings the total death toll in Israel to 24 people since Thursday. Meanwhile, Israel has expanded its targets in Iran beyond nuclear infrastructure. Strikes have hit Iranian industry and local security forces. Officials in Iran say that more than 200 people have been killed since Israel's initial attack. Speaking to Fox News' Bret Baier yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu suggested the strikes could lead to regime change in Iran. The conflict has added a new level of chaos, fear, and bloodshed to the already turbulent region. President Donald Trump has said the U.S. was not involved in Israel's attack on Iran. But nuclear talks that had been scheduled between the U.S. and Iran have been called off. Number 3. The Trump administration is considering adding 36 countries to its travel ban list. Earlier this month, President Trump banned citizens from 12 countries from traveling to the U.S. He also restricted travel from 7 other nations. Now, the Post is reporting that he's considering a significant expansion of the controversial policy. Among the new list of countries that could face visa bans or other restrictions are 25 African nations. That includes U.S. partners like Egypt and Djibouti, and some countries in the Caribbean and Central Asia and several Pacific Island nations are also under consideration. The U.S. has given the governments of listed nations 60 days to meet new benchmarks, like requiring reliable identity documents for their citizens. It's not clear when the new travel restrictions would be enforced if the demands are not met. Americans protested President Trump across the country this weekend. That's number 4. People turned out for protests in more than 2,000 cities on Saturday. Organizers called it the No Kings Nationwide Day of Defiance. They said that several million people participated. The demonstrations were aimed at pushing back against what protesters see as Trump's widening authoritarianism, his attacks on immigrants, and his cuts to federal programs. One protester in Philadelphia spoke to the Post on Saturday.
People want to know! I think everybody can see that there's some significant overreach from the executive branch, not complying with court orders, basically, deploying the National Guard and the Marines against citizens who are obviously, with minor exceptions, peacefully protesting, trying to manufacture, playing up to their base. It's just overreach, and we got to stand up to them now while there's still an opportunity to do so.
Relatively few disruptions were reported during the rallies, where the mood ranged from joyful to defiant. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., President Trump presided over a military parade marking the 250th birthday of the Army. It was also the president's birthday. He turned 79. Trump had hoped for a grand military spectacle, but it turned out to be more of a history lesson. The parade traced the story of the Army from its early days of revolution to the age of robotic dogs and flying drones. Number 5. At least 4 people died in flooding in West Virginia. Heavy rainstorms began in parts of West Virginia around 8 p.m. on Saturday. Officials said that between 2.5 to 4 inches of rain fell in a 30-minute period in the impacted area. Almost immediately, emergency services began receiving calls for help. The rains caused flash flooding and destroyed homes, roads, and bridges. Authorities said that some people were rescued from trees. Searches for the missing continued yesterday. Number 6 is bad news for nervous flyers. Your flights will experience more turbulence as the world heats up. Hotter air moves faster and typically higher than cold air. And as it moves more rapidly, colder air is pulled up to fill in gaps. That causes what's known as vertical wind shear, and that can cause extreme bumpiness in the sky. It means that turbulence will become more of a problem as the world gets warmer, and some places will be impacted more than others. A study found that the majority of change in the U.S. will appear in the southwest along the subtropical jet stream. That's a high-altitude band of wind that wraps around the globe. Other than making you queasy and terrified, the biggest problem turbulence poses is how it can harm planes. The added stress may shorten their expected lifespan by years. In our newsletter today, you can search how your most used routes could be impacted. Just follow the link in our show notes. Number 7 today will make you say, yikes. Some Meta AI users are accidentally sharing their mortifying conversations. Meta launched its AI chatbot app in April. Since then, people have been sharing their conversations with artificial intelligence in the app's Discover feed, and some don't seem to realize they're doing it. One man posted his question publicly about how to help his friend come out of the closet. Another wanted to know how to ask a girl, in Asian, as he put it, if she's interested in older men. Say it with me, yikes! The company has stressed that chats are set to private by default, but the problem seems to be that the button to share conversations publicly is a little confusing for some. It doesn't explicitly tell users where their chats will be shared. The flurry of personal posts on Meta AI is just the latest indication that people are increasingly turning to conversational chatbots to meet their relationship and emotional needs. If you're doing this, it's probably safest to treat your AI chatbot like your most gossipy friend. Your juiciest secrets aren't necessarily safe. All right, you're all caught up. Make this the week that you become a subscriber to The Washington Post. You can get access to all the stories I talk about here on the podcast and much more. And that will keep you up to date with all the latest news and make you the kind of informed citizen that doesn't accidentally post their dating woes to public forums. For just $40 for your first year of a core subscription, that's a deal. Run, don't walk to WashingtonPost.com/subscribe. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.
I'm Fennett Narapil, and I'm a health reporter for The Washington Post. My job is to cover public health, and that means I'm writing about infectious disease threats like COVID, Mpox, and bird flu, and I'm also holding the federal government and state government officials accountable for how they respond to these disease threats. So when we write about public health issues, we want to serve our readers by going deep into the science and by making sure that what they're reading is authoritative information that's been vetted by experts and written by people who've covered these issues for years. We want to empower people to live their best lives and to protect themselves and their loved ones. And that's what subscriber-supported work does, is that it gives me the time and resources to really spend on a story. When you subscribe to The Washington Post, you support this kind of journalism and the people behind it. I'm Fennett Narapil, and I'm one of the people behind the Post.